So, when we left off, I was emerging and updating all of the packages of the basic install, and now I have Openbox running. As you can see, I don't have any panels at all, which sometimes causes difficulties. For example, currently I'm recording with QT Record My Desktop, and it's going to complain that no system tray icon is available. And actually, I am not able to start this recording and then stop recording. It doesn't work. I have to start it in a terminal, and from the terminal press Ctrl C to break it. So there are some quirks with running without panels, but on the other hand, I get a lot more space, or not a lot more, but I get some more space, and it looks a bit cleaner. So I kind of like this. I mean, I could have a panel that is hiding and achieve the same effect, but I'm gonna try this for a while now. So what I thought I would go through today is how to install the Openbox environment. And what I did after the last time was this is basically from the wiki of just installing the grub and kernel. It's gonna take an hour or so to do that as well, and this one took about an hour as well. So installation of a basic system does take a couple of hours. We configure network, and this is the best way of configuring the network, the most stable way that I have found, where I mean, this is if you have a cable attached to an Ethernet cable attached, and for some system this is going to be Ethernet 0. But for Wi-Fi, in my experience, Wi-Fi keeps dying with default configurations many times, and so I have to, if I run a live DVD or something on this computer at least, I have to start the ping like this and just keep pinging something and leave it on, and that's going to keep the Wi-Fi alive on the live DVD. But if I don't have this going in the background keeping the Wi-Fi alive, the Wi-Fi is just going to disconnect all the time, which is really annoying. I don't know why it does that, but I guess it's got something to do with the drivers on the live DVDs. And the way that I found it working was to install with the WPA supplicant, and then in the config file I set my network settings in the config file. This particular network that I'm at here at KBIS, the school, doesn't have any password. It's an open network, so it's quite easy to set it up. And if I set it up like this, it just works every time I start the computer. I have to also go into the net configuration and set the Wi-Fi driver, and I have to add the supplicant to the default run level. But after this, Wi-Fi is working without any kind of hitches, and the downside is that I have to go in manually configure network IDs, and because I don't have a panel, I don't have any applet to configure this easily. So maybe at some point I have to go back on this. I don't know. If I would add a panel, I would probably add the tint 2 panel, because that one can be configured a bit differently. But for now, this is what we have. So after that, I create my own user and reboot, and that's the end of the basic installation system. That's a fully working Funtoo system with the previous video up until here. So after that, you're just gonna you don't have any kind of graphical system. There's no Windows system installed. So then I just throw in some apps that many of these I didn't configure them yet. I just started them, and at some point I will go back to this script and update this a little bit to add the settings for these packages or these applications. One of the things that you need to run after this also is X update. So as you can see, I have this script that I keep adding things to as I add things to the system. I add things to this file so that the next time I am running this, I will just follow the script and get everything working. Now normally in Funtoo they have this flavors and mix-ins that you would add. Oh, I can't use those now. Whoops. Misclick. So, oh, I'm not. This is tricky in that as a regular user you don't have access to all the commands. You have to be a super user to show this. But the Funtoo way of doing things is that you set flavors and mix-ins that sets lots of use flags, and that is essentially the same thing as Sabayon is doing, for example, where in their make.conf they have lots of use flags set that will import many different things. And this would be one way of setting up for running LXQT, for example. I have this in my script just to remember that maybe I want to do this at some point, but right now I didn't do any of these. As you can see, I just have the core flavor, and I didn't set any mix-ins. You can do ePro list to get a full list of all of them. As you can see, I have a very lightweight system now, 389 megabytes of RAM used, even though I'm currently recording. So it's very lightweight. So I can choose the flavor, would be the desktop for a desktop computer, I guess. And that would have some use flags. I could change to my processor if I knew which one I had. I think that this one is Haswell, but I'm not actually sure. So, and I'm not sure if this actually matters much, so I just run with the generic one. And then, I mean, you could set, if you want to run KDE, you would set the KDE. If you want to run the Plasma 5, you're going to set that. LXDE, Mate, whatever desktop environment that you want to run, you're going to pick it, and it's going to set lots of use flags to make that run smoothly. I don't want to use that because I want to set specifically the use flags that I want to keep. So I just skipped this step for now. And I'm quite happy with this setup, so I don't think I will ever actually use that, but I'm still keeping it in the script just to remember when it should be done if I'm going to do it at some point. You never know, with a different computer, you get a new laptop, there's some drivers or something that doesn't work, and if you follow the typical script, then it will set all the use flags and maybe fix something that wouldn't work otherwise. That's why I keep it. Anyway, what I did this time is I just emerged Xorg. And after that, what I discovered was, last time I installed this system, I didn't have an xorg.conf configuration set at all. I just installed Openbox directly after Xorg. And what happened was, it was very fast and fine in many ways, but I couldn't record anything because I had super laggy performance when I was recording things. And SDDM, the display manager, was also super laggy. So, well, first of all, I did enable lots of new use flags. Where are the use flags? Here. I added all these that I don't really know what they're doing. And I added some more here somewhere. AMR, AAC, that's a sound codec, isn't it? I'm not sure. I added lots of these that I just saw from some live DVD examples that's what people are using. And after that, I also added this xorg.conf with some settings. And now everything is working super smoothly in every respect. What I did discover when I went through this setting is that if in this device section in xorg.conf, if I set the driver to Intel, which it should be, then X and SDDM just produces a blank screen, nothing happening. There's no error message. It doesn't show anything wrong. The logs appear to be fine. There's nothing particular going on in the logs. Some warning about something insignificant, but not really anything that you can see that there would be a problem. It's just a black screen. So just comment this line out and it works fine. So I have the device section, but I don't specify the driver. And then I don't really know what kind of driver is going to load when you don't specify it. Maybe it's the Visa driver, but yeah, I have no idea. I tried changing this to i965 and something, and it had the same result. Anyway, the other thing I found was that this option, Excel method UXA, that was suggested to solve problems, that is the option that is causing this massive lag in some cases, like when I try to record something. So I just comment this one out as well, and then everything is working fine. So, I mean, the screen section is mostly good to specify different types of screen resolutions that you might want to use. I added this mostly because if I connect the HDMI adapter, I want to be able to communicate with something a bit more smoothly. But yeah, this is just something that I copy-pasted from the internet. So this is also something that I didn't really read up on yet. Maybe I should read up on all of these settings at some point. But right now, I'm just happy that it's working. And this one is just the default, so we don't need that one. That file already exists the way it is when you install the system. So after you did this xorg.conf, X is configured and it will start. with just a blank screen or something. So then we throw in Openbox and Compton to handle the windowing. And we need to have some use flags set. And I just echo those into new files. In this case, because I did this already, I just copied the files to I just copied all of these files here because I already set those use flags previously. And again, many of these use flags, I just set them because there would be some kind of conflict in emerge if I didn't set them. So at some point, again, I will go back and read up on exactly what kind of use flags I really want to use, and if I can make it work with some changes, if I want to make changes. But right now, I'm just happy to keep it working, and I can use the system as I intended. Now, I use ALSA, the Advanced Linux Sound Architecture for sound. You could use Pulse Audio or something. I always used ALSA for years, so it's just, I don't know, it's just what I always used. And then SDDM and UDEV and dbus something for messages between applications. And then for ALSA, I need to configure the default way, at least for this laptop, that this is working, is that the HDMI is the primary sound card, and then you're not going to hear any sound when you, even though it seems like sound is working, you're not going to hear anything. So you have to go into the alsa.conf and change the order of the sound cards so that the internal sound card is index 0. And then it's going to work without any issues after that. Put the sound and everything to run from start. I also put a printer server in there, and I didn't configure any kind of printers yet. The policy kit and console kit is recommended for some permissions or something. And again, this one I just threw in because that's supposed to make things work, and I didn't actually read up on any settings to put up there yet. It is working really well. So you generate the example configuration, and then you can just edit that a bit and add something that you want. For example, you can set the theme and something else if you want. You don't really need to edit this. The example configuration works fine the way it is. It is recommended to add the SDDM user to the video group. So we add to the group video the user SDDM to make it work more smoothly. And then we go to XDM. XDM is the X display manager, which isn't default, but the default configuration file is XDM. So if you want to use XDM as a display manager, you have to actually install it separately after, even though the config files exist. So we're going to change this to be the SDDM display manager. And then we add it to the default run level. And if we're on RC, it's going to run the commands to start up everything, and this should bring up the SDDM login screen. But again, I will switch to the console to do the rest in the console before I open Openbox. So we emerge Openbox with some configuration tools to make it look nice. And actually, this is actually mostly for GTK themes. But the thing is, I looked at File Manager, and I like the Thunar or Tunar file manager, because you can do some batch renaming. Where was that? It has a tool for batch renaming that right now I can't see it for some reason. Oh, here. I have to select something. Where do I have several files? If I select several files, I can rename those with some pattern. Yeah, it's just a nice option to have. So that's the only reason why I prefer the Tuner file manager. But when I have the Tuner file manager to set the icons correctly, you need the GTK obconf version. LX appearance is the command. So anyway, after that, we can copy some example setup files that are default and just alter them a bit. I had those already in a different place. I just copied them because I'd done it before, but you can just alter whatever you want. To the Autostore, you're gonna start everything that you want to use. Now I have nitrogen. Well, I didn't install that yet actually, but I will have nitrogen to handle my wallpaper, like so. I think it's quite nice. Where is that? Oh, it's here. Nitrogen wallpaper. I can just pick any wallpaper I want and switch it easily. And it doesn't take up lots of memory resources, so just put nitrogen restore in your Autostore and you're gonna keep the wallpaper up. A lot of how-tos say that you should use the Th for wallpaper, and I got some errors when I tried to build it actually, so that's one of the reasons why I moved on to nitrogen. But actually I really like nitrogen, so I think it was good that I was pushed in that direction. Compton can be started with a configuration file, but I just add lots of options to run it in the background with shadows, radius 13, opacity, offset from the left and from the top, with some other opacity setting and something. Actually, I think I don't use this because the default is fine, and I don't use the VSync either now, I think. Anyway, you can play around with these settings whatever you feel like. It doesn't make a huge difference really. Oh, the VSync is sometimes you can get some tearing or something, and the VSync is going to stop that. But actually, I don't have that set now, and I don't see any great problems with updates, so I think it's okay. Now, this is a bit weird that you don't have the standard buttons for raising volume, lowering volume is not default set in the RC XML, where you set the keybind for key shortcuts. I mean, everyone has these buttons on their keyboards nowadays, but they're not set by default. it could be because you actually need a special application to set the sound, which is in this case ALSA mixer, and it would be a different command, I guess, if you use pulse audio. So maybe that's why it's not set by default. It's a bit annoying that you have to type all of this text. And this emerge command is needed to install those apps that control these brightness and something for the screen. Well, let me test if that worked. Did I actually put it in? I'm not sure if I did. Where are the screen brightness buttons? Oh, here. No, it doesn't work. Maybe I didn't put it in. Let's see. In config, Openbox, RC, Keybind. Did I put it in? Yes, I did put it in. So I did put it in, but for some reason this isn't actually working. I didn't test it before. So these buttons are not. Can I change the sound? How would I know if I change the sound? I don't think I would know that because I don't have the I don't have the panel applets installed to show it. Anyway, this is something I probably need to look over a bit. So then we emerge Compton, Nitrogen for the wallpaper. I currently running both PCMan FM and Tuner as file manager. I mean, the difference between them is not big. They look pretty much the same. Tuner has file system, whereas I mean, this is the default setup. You can probably change this quite a bit if you wish. I can change this to a tree if I want to. Here. So it's going to look a bit different by default. The icon sets are also different because this is by default the oxygen icon set, I think. And this is set by the LX appearance. I didn't set this to anything. This is just the default look. But yeah, I got them both installed and I didn't really make a choice yet which one to use. I have a few terminals installed. I also have a Q terminal installed. To be honest, I think Xterm is fine. That's the one I use. The one thing that I'm a bit annoyed about sometimes is that I don't have an easy way to copy paste anything here in Xterm, and I don't know if it's because of my settings, because actually I didn't use this much. It was just easy to have it as the default one. In Q terminal I can copy things, which is better, but I'm not really fond of this tabbed view. It takes up a bit of space that I'm not very fond of. Maybe I will warm up to it. Right now I'm using Xterm for pretty much everything. And then Xterm starts as default with a white background, which is really annoying to my eyes. I don't like it. So then, because I'm using Xterm, I have to go into the X resources and configure the font is changed to Inconsolata, and the size, and I set the colors a bit differently. This is just something I copied from the internet that I like this setup. And also, I don't like when I go read something and then I'm waiting for an emerge or something to update. When I'm reading up here, an emerge update makes everything jump down to what's happening. I want to keep reading whatever I'm reading up here if I scrolled up. So that's why I set this default. Then I pull up some icon themes just because I like to make things look pretty. And then we can pick the icon theme with LX appearance, which is this one. So I have a few of them installed. Oh, actually the one I picked was the elementary for tuner. So this only picks for tuner. This doesn't affect PC Man FM because I'm running the QT one, and this is the GTK settings, I guess. Could be wrong about that. Maybe it's some other type of settings. Whatever. The way to change this is the LXQT desktop environment configuration tool, and it's nice, but when I looked at that, there was something that stopped me from installing it, and I don't remember quite what it was. That's why I'm pretending to install it now. The P flag with emerge is pretend to install it to see what kind of dependencies are going to be pulled in when you install it. Anyway, I started thinking about making my own icon theme as well, but I didn't do that yet, so this is just nothing yet. QXKB is a very important one for me because I want to switch between Swedish and Thai because Swedish letters are different and Thai letters are definitely different. And then the shortcut is I want it to be set to Windows space. This one. So, alright, it wanted me to set the EGL flag, and I didn't look up what the EGL flag does. Oh, and also, I think EGL is OpenGL actually, which is fine. So I wouldn't mind setting that use flag. But Wayland, I said, when I started this, I said that I'm going to use Wayland because it is an improvement over Xorg. I mean, that is why they started making it, because Xorg is a bit complicated and messed up. But the thing is, I tried Wayland and I thought it was okay to use, but as it turns out, there's still quite a lot of bugs and it's very unstable, and it's just annoying when it keeps crashing. So I just decided that I'm not gonna use Wayland, and when I emerge LXQT config, it pulls in Wayland for some reason. And there's not any use flag you can set to prevent that. So I'm not sure. I need to read up on that before I do anything, basically. Anyway, now that I set the use flag, this is the American keyboard that is default, and I press Windows key space, and the same keys will give the Swedish signs. Windows key space, I just get blank because I don't have a Thai font installed. Can I write Thai in here? Yes, here I can write Thai. Interesting. So in Xterminal I'm using the Inconsolata font, and here I'm using the Source Code Pro font. So I guess the Source Code Pro has more characters in it. I didn't set up the fonts quite thoroughly yet. As you can see, I'm still working on it. But yeah. XKB is a very nice tool for that. Then, what is that? This is some remnant. And this VLC use flag should be with VLC wherever I put that. I still have some cleaning up to do here, I see. VLC is down here. Actually, a lot of these use flags are global use flags now. So it probably doesn't need to be that complicated. Anyway, I didn't set up the X screensaver yet either. But I have set up screen grab as well as LXQT. Now, I know that LXimage does have a screenshot functionality in it. But it doesn't have any options other than current window, like that. So I prefer to use screen grab, where I can say that I just want a screen area, and I can just copy an area like that, press a key, and then I have just a portion of the screen that I can copy, which I find quite useful. So with that, I basically have a lot of my systems set up. So I'm going to start throwing in application, and one of the first things that I throw in is Sublime Text, which is in the Funtoo repository. It's not in, there are many other repositories that don't include this. Maybe because it is not a free version. Whenever I start this, it's going to pop up. Oh, new version is available. No, don't download. I thought it's going to pop up a question that it is not a free version. Anyway, sometimes when I save, it's going to pop up this annoying message as well that, hey, you should pay money for this. Which, I mean, I could, but I think this is actually $70. And $70 US for a text editor when there are completely free options is, it's a bit too much. So I'm just going to use the free version and keep clicking away those annoying messages. Anyway, put in Dropbox, and Dropbox needs Ruby, so that is in my make.com. And add Dropbox so that I can sync my files. Clipper Text Studio is something that I use for writing all the time. I really like it for writing LaTeX. This IRC client, Internet Relay Chat, is just one that I favor. For Firefox, I installed the binaries because it's just so much faster and simpler, and I don't really care about compiling everything. Actually, I don't think I have the LibreOffice in here. I should put in the LibreOffice as well. GIMP, Inkscape, Open Broadcaster software is what I normally use for recording, but this is, I always have something wrong with recording in this system. I don't know why. So I can actually have OBS working, but when I go into settings for audio, I can't set the audio devices. And I don't know why, because obviously ALSA is working, and as you can see, I am using the ALSA use flag. I'm not using Pulse Audio or Jack. So I don't know why OBS doesn't recognize my sound. I will look into that too, I guess, at some point. Cinelerra is a nice video editing software, but when I tried to install it this time, I got some build error. So right now I don't have Cinelerra installed. I need to figure out what is causing that error first. I changed the use flags this time around to fix the graphics lag, and after that, before I changed those, I did have Cinelerra built, no problem, but right now it doesn't build for some reason. VLC is a nice player that you can also use to record a screen, and I use the SM player as well, and Clementine, and also Audacity for sound. Sound recording. Did that cover all of the different apps that I have installed now? I didn't install Kate yet. I was going to use Kate mostly, because with Kate you can set it up to have the terminal in the editor, which is nice in a way. But at the same time, this is also quite nice to be able to have a real terminal and just the editor on the side. So I think that's fine. I'm gonna stick with this setup. And since Kate uses console, I would have that installed as well, but I think I'm just gonna skip that entirely and not go with lots of KDE apps. I tried for a while to have the transparent terminal on my desktop, and I just used tilde for that, but actually I'm not super fond of it, so I don't think I'm gonna use that. I'm just gonna keep with my Xterms or something like that. GIMP, Inkscape, maybe I want to install Digicam as well. Digicam is a nice it's kind of like Lightroom, Adobe Lightroom, but it's only 10% of Lightroom, obviously, because Lightroom has a ton of things in it. And Digicam is very, very simple software, but it does work well for organizing photographs. And then you would normally use something like raw therapy as well for raw files. And I didn't start looking at that yet. The thing is that Digicam, since it is a KDE app, is going to pull in a ton of KDE dependencies, which I kind of prefer to be without. I do have Quirk, but Quirk doesn't pull in that many dependencies. There's also the Krita drawing software, which is kind of like GIMP, although GIMP is so much better that there's not really any reason to use Krita at this point. But maybe I will look at that at some point as well. We'll see. So, currently working on the fonts, and at first I was installing the fonts from the repositories, but I decided later that, oh yeah, by the way, I also need Thunderbird from email. I have a set of fonts that I'm just I copied some settings file from these settings files are from the Calculate Linux setup. Just to set up the preferences of fonts, I'm just looking at they have already gone through which fonts are similar to each other, which is quite handy. So that you can connect the fonts that are similar to each other in a good way, if a font is missing. But then I have a lot of the fonts that I want to use. I already have them in libraries, and I'm going to copy them over to my fonts folder. So I'm not installing these packages now. I decided which fonts I'm going to use, and I'm going to copy them over. And some of the fonts are set here. So I'm using the Futura font for a lot of the windows. And the Fyra Sans for the menu items. So this is the Futura in these headings, and Fyra Sans in the menu items. I think it looks okay like this. And in the Xterm, I'm using the Inconsolata, but in Sublime Text, I'm using Source Code Pro. And actually, which one's better? They're about the same, aren't they? Seems like Source Code Pro has more character encodings, like it could handle the Thai characters. So maybe that one is better. It is made by Adobe, so I guess they carry a stamp of quality with them. Oh yeah, I should probably copy these settings to my script for Sublime Text. So this is the way I do my script. That all of the settings, I realize that yeah, I'm gonna have to repeat these settings at some point. I put them in this script to keep them for later. There. Where was I? Something with fonts. Yeah, so I looked at the fonts that I want to use, the serifs that I want to use, and the different sans fonts that I want to use. Gotham is a good grotesque for headings. And Monospace. Maybe I'm going to move this one up to the first place. I'm not sure. And I have some more Thai fonts as well that I will put in. I also copied Verdana and I think Helvetica as well from a Windows installation, and I will put them here later. just because a lot of web pages assume to have Verdana, and when you don't have Verdana on your system, those web pages can look a bit weird. But it's TrueType fonts, so you just copy them to your font folder. User share fonts, or in your home folder if you want that, and then you will have them. I also set the console font to this one is a lot nicer than the default. However, I'm not able to show the console font because the recording software only records the X system. So when I switch, I can press Ctrl Alt F1 to switch to a console, and I will be able to see this font, but it won't be recorded in your what you can see. So you just basically have to test this one out. But all of the console fonts are in user share console fonts, and there's quite a lot of them. And these terminal ones down here, where I'm using this one, they are normally you get them when you install some thing like this, Infinality, maybe, or something else. But I just copied the files that I liked, and I'm not installing the fonts for the console either. I just copy them over from my Dropbox. Anyway, this is a work in progress, because then you have to go into but you should go into the fonts .conf, which could be your home folder, or it could be it's in etc, isn't it? Fonts.conf. So you can match target patterns and something like that. But it should be okay to put it in your user folder. If you put it in your user folder and nothing happens, then that's because it's those settings that you set are overridden in this etc fonts.conf. So then you have to edit that one instead. But it should be okay to put it in your user folder. And I didn't finish this yet, but basically I'm saying that for the serif family, my preference is Caslon first and then Baskerville. And what's going to happen is that when this is set, if I type something in Thai, like I did here with the Inconsolata, if that sign isn't represented, if that character isn't represented in that font, then it will go to the next one in the list and get that character from there instead. At least that's the idea behind it, as I understand. So that's why this is nice to set. And of course, these settings with various fonts, you can go through lots and lots and lots of those, which is why I'm looking at these pre-made ones, because it's a lot easier to just copy paste if there's something that I agree with. Apparently there are also some bugs. I don't know. But yeah, still not finished with this. Work in progress. This is the Openbox menu, so you have to edit the menu.xml. There are applications you can run to have this automatically updated and stuff like that. I'm not gonna install applications all the time or remove applications or go back and forth. So I'm just putting this manually, putting it together manually. And with that, that gives you the setup that I have now, which for me, is quite okay to work with. I tried on this laptop, on Windows 10, which is on my other partition. If I start up Windows, I'm gonna sit here and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait, and it's gonna take forever. No, I didn't actually install LibreOffice yet, but basically I did try this when I had it installed, and just clicking on it, boom, it's up on the screen. There's no loading times. It's super fast system, which I really appreciate. Of course, it could be that LibreOffice is a bit lighter in itself as well than what Word is, but yeah, it is very fast, and it is very pleasant to work with. So this is my system, and this is the way it is going to be for quite some time, I think. I didn't install Opera or Pigeon yet. So I have a few things left that I need to put in and that I need to look at, but I'm fairly happy with the way things are right now, actually. The thing that I will look at is Funtoo panel. It is nice on a laptop to have a battery monitor and something for the network and so on. So maybe I will have this panel installed as well later on. So yeah, that is pretty much the end of the project of creating my own custom Openbox Funtoo Gen 2 installation. Right, so now I have to press Control C to stop this recording.